The content presented in Cheshire Corners is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult a legal professional if you have any questions or concerns about the content of this disclaimer, this series, or the legal implications surrounding psychedelic substances in your jurisdiction.
Welcome to Cheshire Corners. My name is Wesley, and I'll be your host as we trip through the looking glass. So my thing is I run a mycology meetup because I wanted a social space for other mushroom growers, if you like gourmet mushrooms or psychedelic mushrooms, anything. And so that's a specific group that me and my friend Jordan run. I just put out a request to see if there was interest, and Jordan reached out. So now we have a social thing at the coffee joint here where we just hang out and try to teach people. It's very specifically mushroom focused. My original entry into like a psychedelic community was the Psychedelic Club of Denver. So they've been around for a long time, but after Proposition 122 passed, they started getting a lot more popular. That was the proposition that actually decriminalized DMT, psilocybin, ibogaine, and mescaline. So obviously they got a lot more popular when people could actually be public with their use. So those are the two main groups that I'm a part of, and there's a lot of overlap between them. I'd say 80% of the people who go to the mycology meetup are also psychedelic club members. They're kind of spread out, and there's a lot of underground people doing their own thing, but Travis Tyler he organizes the Denver Mushroom Cooperative, and I'm not sure who else is involved in that. He's the main forefront that I've seen from that, and he's a lot more focused on working with the dried mushroom with people. So he helps people make microdose capsules, and he organizes gifting events, and he also used to drive to people's house and actually just teach them how to grow mushrooms. So the Denver Mushroom Co-op, I'm not sure if you join so much as you just follow them, and he'll post where things are going to happen. There's also an actual mycology club in Denver where they do forages and stuff. I haven't gone on any of those, but there is a more gourmet cooking and foraging focused group as well. But their events are a lot rarer. There's a big variety that's popped up right after Prop 122 because there's a whole bunch of people who were growing mushrooms, and now we can all be public about it. So probably the most exciting event was the Psychedelic Cup. We had, I think, over 500 submissions. We got them all tested, and then they also ran good breakdowns on the data so that we got to see exactly how potent all the different strains were. Also, they did between flushes, so like at the beginning of the grow and then at the end of the grow, they were seeing if they're different strength. They also saw if smaller mushrooms were more potent than bigger mushrooms. So that was the most exciting event, was the Psychedelic Cup, and that was sponsored by a whole bunch of vendors. Some notable ones are Colorado Cultures. That's just personally where I shop for in-person gear. I also really like Denver Spore Company, just because I've met the people who work there and they seem legit. But there's a lot of new vendors that are public now sponsoring different events. So if you just Google Denver mushroom growing or Denver microdosing, you'll get a ton of separate groups doing different things too. Yeah, and I was hoping to say at some point it was a very underground community where people couldn't really be public, and most of it is still underground. There are still a lot of people who sell culture, but they don't have a shop, or they just give away mushrooms, but you have to know them. And I think that the biggest takeaway is if you are interested in mushrooms and you want to either learn about growing or you want to find other people who are interested in mushrooms, there are shops and commercialized ways to go about it, but I would just ask your friends, like, have you ever used mushrooms? Do you have any interest in them? And I think you'd be surprised that a third or half of the people that you know might say, oh yeah, I tried those one time. And then half of those people might say, yeah, I was thinking about growing it, but I just never have done it. So just ask people and try to go to as many social events, read about the history, and then it'll make sense why all the separate groups are popping up. Because those are really like the tip of the iceberg that you can see, but all the people who grow and consume mushrooms are semi-invisible, but they're out there and you can definitely find them. It's partially hard because I'm so biased in favor of Colorado cultures and just the people that I know. There are definitely people who grow stronger mushrooms than other people. There are certain people who work on certain genetics. Like if you look at who won the cup, it was Pan-Cyan or Cyanescens culture, which not a lot of people have. I believe the guy who won goes by Myco Phelps, which is kind of a funny name. But if you want exotic cultures, that's one whole world. If you want exotic cultures, there's a whole world for that, where people only go for strength and different characteristics that they're breeding for. And those people tend to have a little bit of a different mindset from the average consumer, because Pan-Cyans, you're weighing out less than a gram and you're gonna get a dose that might be way too strong for you. So not even that many people actually would want to consume those or really know how to. If someone gave it to them, they wouldn't really know what to do with it. So there's that whole world of let's get it as potent as possible, let's get it to grow as fast as possible and give us the biggest mushrooms. So there's a kind of a biology community, and then there's more of a using it as medicine, trying to figure out how to work with it. So I would say that all the culture companies, all the spore companies are on the potency side for the most part, trying to release different genetics and more interesting genetics. So if you're a DIY person and you like biology, I would research the different spore companies that are around Denver, and also the different spore companies around the world, because the original spores, you can look up the story of how the true albino teacher came about, and you can read about that, and then that'll tell you a lot about the spore makers. And then there's the whole other side of what Travis does with the Mushroom Co-op, what they do at the Psychedelic Club, which is a lot more post-harvest. Maybe you've already consumed your mushrooms and then you want to go discuss it, or you want to find other people with that same interest. So that's a distinction I would make, is some people are super focused on biology and some people are a lot more focused on what the mushroom can do for you. In an ideal world, mushrooms are something that's not commodified. So if you have it, it's just a community gift. And that's how I view when I grow. If I have extra, I don't really view it as mine to give away. I view it as other people already have it and I'm just kind of getting it to them. It's going to help people heal from a lot of trauma and various things and change their behavior in ways they actually want to change it. And then it's also going to be one of the first things that can do that you don't have to pay for. Because we have a lot of solutions for people, like therapy and different antidepressants we've made and different treatments and things, but mushrooms are going to be the first one that's actually accessible for people. And then in a practical sense, we have to figure out how some people are going to commodify it, and so we have to figure out what that looks like, because I do think that paying for a well put together experience is something that we should do. We should put together really excellent therapies with psilocybin, and they will be expensive. So the key is going to be blending the two. Like, we know it's going to be good for people, and we have to figure out how to commodify it, get the best result out of it, and then also get those results to people who aren't going to buy it.